if you as an entrepreneur want to pass down your business to future generations. But even if you're going to pass down a substantial amount of wealth, ensuring you have concrete family governance that is complementary to all of these estate documents is important, because the estate documents, there's just going to be hundreds and hundreds of pages of legal documents that's going to outline the rules, who's got to do what, who's getting money, etc. But if you don't have the family governance, then all of those documents are really just not worth a whole lot, not worth the paper that they're written on. So when it comes to family governance, I know this is a topic that is close to my heart because I feel it personally. But what are some of the biggest things that you've seen, Jim, that are important in terms of raising your kids or future generations or your heirs to be good stewards of capital?
One of the first things is it's critical for the family to get together in person on a regular basis. And that doesn't mean once every 5 years, at least once a year for a family retreat, at least touching base, throughout the year. Because if you don't create almost like that family connection, those relationships, then you start to get problems. Just like I said earlier, things drift when you don't pay attention to them. So that's critical. So you want to think about an annual gathering. You want to think about how you're going to involve everybody and have everyone feel that they're valued and that they have a voice to be contributed. Now, that doesn't mean everyone has a voting voice, but it means that you want to make sure that your kids and their spouses feel a sense of community with the family. And then you also want to have rules and how the family is going to function. So that could be everything from how does money get doled out? Because often entrepreneurs want to create a family bank. So they say, hey, if my grandchild wants to buy their first house, I want to help them do that and give them a loan from the family bank. Or my grandchild wants to start a business, I want to be able to help with that. But how does that work? What kind of house? How much are you going to fund from the family business? What's the interest rate going to be like? If you're going to start a business, how is that going to be evaluated? Is there marketing and a business plan and all those types of things? So all those things have to be figured out, because when money gets given out without any rules, then you create hurt feelings, upset family members, or ones that just feel entitled and want to get their money out. You also need something about giving. I think every family that's wealthy, if you don't have a charitable aspect to that family, there's not going to be enough that ties you together. Because what happens with money is people start to see it as something where you get to buy cool stuff, you get to go to cool places, you get to have expensive wine or whatever it might be. And that misses the point of money being something that you can do for others. Because if you have selfish family members, you're going to create a problem in that family. If you have giving family members, then they're going to be much more generous, not just with people outside the family, but with people inside the family. Those are a few things off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And when I think of family governance, I think it all starts with Warren Buffett once said that nobody should ever be surprised by a will. And I think that's the very first step, which is a hard step. It's easier said than done, especially if you're very wealthy. And there's a lot of nuance around how to broach this conversation, this topic. But you need to make sure that your kids or your heirs understand who is getting what and why. And those conversations need to be had sooner rather than later. And that's one of the first conversations that I think needs to be had, is just understanding the flow chart of the estate plan, of the distribution. And then I think from there, you then dovetail, you go next into, okay, what do we actually have? What does our family, balance sheet or business balance sheet look like, or the P&L, depending on what your goals are and how much you're trying to disclose. And then to your point, if you do this every 6 months, twice a year, having family retreats, make it fun. It's just, if you do this for 10 years, 20 years, you just build up the acumen, you need to build up the muscle. And then, when someone were to pass away or the next generation, you kind of have that playbook set up. And this is something that we do within my family right now, which I think is great, is my dad passed on his ownership of his business to really me and my 3 sisters. We each own 25%, and it's all baked into the operating agreement that it has to be passed down, per blood. And so that's baked into everything. And then every 6 months we get together. It's an excuse to get the family together, write it off the business, go hang out at a resort, get the kids together. And then we have a meeting. We talk through, hey, how has the performance been with the real estate, the land, the farmland? And then we talk through, what does the operating agreement say? What does the estate plan say? And so then that way, then when my kids and the 3rd generation is old enough, we now have the template, and now they're going to have a seat at the table. And it's been awesome seeing this, that we're now at 17 years. So we've been doing this for 17 years.
Wow.
And it's like there's no friction, there's no surprises. Everyone is very clear, but it doesn't happen overnight, right? That's 17 years of biannual meetings.
Yeah. Another thing I've seen families do that's very powerful is they start when their kids are pretty young. And it can be, even if you're not at this level where you have more than 15 million as an entrepreneur, you start with this generosity giving thing. And so once a year, when the kids are old enough, each kid brings one charity that they want to fund that year. And then they present to the family why they think that charity should get the money. And you can start out with $1,000, whatever it is. And then each of the kids gives their little presentation, and then you decide as a family where the money's going to go for that year. And you could even do it like different prizes or different levels, or every charity gets something, but the one gets the big prize. And that forces kids to think about, how can I give to others? What is a cause that breaks my heart that I want to do something for? And that can be a great way to unite the family in a kind of a giving experience that can scale over time. You know, maybe it becomes a day where every year you have to give $1 million away, and you have the family get together and the kids and grandkids and people present, and you decide who gets the $1 million that year. That's a way that I've seen that you create connection with the family, is doing that and having each person have to come up with their own charity that they want to fund that year, and then why should their charity get the money.